first time I did stand-up comedy, it was at an open mic in college, and it was kind of, there's this comic that went up, and I was kind of shit-talking him a little bit, and my buddy went, "Do you think you can do better?" And I was like, "Yeah." So next time it happens, like a month later, I signed up, I did it, went terribly. Like, I got tunnel vision, totally spaced out, it was terrible, I bombed, and I was like, ugh. That was fun though. So I just started going down to the local club in Wilmington. It was called Nut Street at the time. It's since rebranded to Dead Crow, and did comedy there for like 6 years, and now I'm in Raleigh. First time I performed stand-up, it freaked me out. It was not as easy as I thought it was going to be, and it was probably the biggest rush of adrenaline I had ever had. It was not fun because it was like a lot of anxiety mixed in there with that, but it was, I probably should have just done more drugs and I wouldn't have done stand-up because I would have had some type of rush of euphoria by then, but it was just fun, and I didn't have a lot of extracurriculars going on either, so it ate up a lot of my extra time in college. It was fun. I like a lot of different comedians, a lot of different comedy albums, but right now I'm really into Ryan Singer from LA. He's got some awesome, really out there comedy. He also has a great podcast about paranormal stuff called Me and Paranormal You. I also love Joe Zimmerman from New York. He's got, I think, a Comedy Central half hour and a couple of really good albums. Matt Bronger is another one. I love Big Dumb Animal, and yeah, like other than the big guys of like Louis C.K., I don't know if I can say him anymore. Louis C.K.'s 2008 album, it's good comedy. George Carlin, Richard Pryor, the Mount Rushmore of comics that everybody loves. But other than them, those guys that I listed, Joe Firestone's very funny. Yeah, it's just a ton of funny people. Ooh, the new Tim Robinson show on Netflix, I Think You Should Leave, I think that's what it's called. I love that. I think it is such a departure from what the SNL type of sketch comedy has been. I think that's really showing a new type of weird, fun comedy that's out there. I love it. What else? I'm a big fan of like older Mel Brooks movies like Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. Young Frankenstein's probably my favorite movie of all time. Other than that, I listen to Mark Maron a lot. I'm a big fan of Opie and Anthony, listening to their backlog of old stuff, seeing all the comedians that were coming on there in the late, early O's, I guess. Let me see. Trying to see if there's anything new I've seen recently that was really good. But probably the Tim Robinson thing's the best new thing I've seen. And then also SNL. People always say that the SNL that you watched when you were in high school is the best one, and I feel the same way. Like, I feel like the 09 to 11 SNL is probably my favorite. My favorite sitcoms probably Roseanne before the reboot. Cheers is great. The Flintstones. What have I been watching a lot of? Oh, is Andy Griffith a sitcom, technically? There's just something about that I really, just makes me feel nice and warm seeing a young Ron Howard. Arrested Development. I finally watched Arrested Development for the first time, and I love that. I think the first 3 seasons have a lot of great writing. My favorite joke of comics ever written, I have a bunch that I really like, but there's one that's really easily quotable. It's from a guy named Sam Morrell, who's a New York comic. He's had I think a half hour, and he has this joke. He goes, a couple years ago, there was this kid in Disneyland. He got eaten by an alligator. And don't get upset. Don't act like you knew the kid. Don't start getting, all cryy and tears in your eyes. Don't do that, because I bet you didn't even watch on TV where the kid's mom gets up and she gets up there with a tear in her eye and goes, "See you later, alligator." If I was going to go on tour with another comedian, I'd probably say Dusty Slay. I've got to work with him a couple times. He's an extremely nice guy. I love his comedy. I think it's very well written. And working with him before, he's just a super nice guy. And he works so much that I would want to be on the road with him that consistent amount. I want to say Bert Kreischer because he seems like he'd be fun, but I don't drink or do a lot of crazy stuff, so I don't know if we'd mesh that well. Mark Maron. I think it'd be fun going on tour with Mark Maron. Getting to do some theaters, but he's also such a cranky piece of shit that I think that's something we jive on, because I feel like we're both really irritable guys when things aren't going our exact way. Matt Bronger, because he's one of my favorites. A couple of guys that I know from North Carolina, Matt White and Drew Harrison. They're good friends of mine. I'm just trying to think of like really mean comedians. George Carlin would be another one. Jim Norton. I think Jim Norton would really get down on I think he'd be able to pick apart my most disgusting thoughts and really put that into a good roast. As far as the other types of comedy, I have done improv for about 6 years. I have 6 years of experience with that. It's fun. I highly recommend that people do it. As far as classes for improv go, you should pay for improv classes, but I would say never pay for a stand-up class. That's just something you can learn by doing a whole bunch of open mics. I've done a little bit of sketch writing, and everyone could do more writing, so I obviously want to work more on that. If I'm going to move somewhere like Atlanta or Los Angeles, it's a good idea to have some scripts and pilots ready for when you move out there. I'd love to start a podcast, but I have such a bad habit of having all these ideas, but then I think that's a common problem amongst comedians, is having a bunch of ideas and then trying to focus on one and just hammer it out. I think we have trouble on the follow through pretty consistently. Hoping to get some more work out of the North Carolina clubs, and then probably going to move to Atlanta and see where I can go from there. I don't like putting a lot of energy in hoping for something that'll happen next. I like thinking about attainable goals. So next 5 years would probably be do a whole bunch of stuff in Raleigh where I live, then probably move to Atlanta and do as much comedy there as I can, while also trying to get some TV roles here and there, most likely background stuff, because I'm not really qualified to do anything else. And other than that, just working on a lot of my solo projects and touring as much as I can. I am at Tyler W. Wood on Twitter. On Instagram, I am at, and then the word at Tyler W. Wood on Instagram, because I guess Tyler W. Wood was already taken. I also do a lot of entertainment for Comic-Cons, and I do that under my brand, The Nerd Guide. So you can find that at The Nerd Guide. So you can find that at The Nerd Guide on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. After my set's over, I think I would like the audience to just leave having had a good time, because I don't really have a point to my comedy, really. I'm not a political guy. I don't know if that's something I'll change with time, but I don't really. I'm just having fun right now, so I hope everybody has fun with me and just smile and have fun on the way home. Hi, I'm Tyler Wood, and check out cutiepie.com.